should have some plays that I wrote for my children and that I can send, but it's also in Italian. But I suppose this being an international movement, that should not be a problem, right? That's one thing. Okay. And the other thing is that I think 2 months ago or something, I interviewed one of my own ex-students. And she's now attending the high school, the online high school. So I can send you that link.
I would love that.
Okay, so that's more or less the material that I have.
Wonderful.
All right. Good to be connected again.
Yeah, so you really have also played an active part in, is it mostly theater, or was it also film as well?
You mean now we're talking about EFL? About the school?
Both in your life and within the school.
My life in general.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it was, so when I was working, I worked in our school, I served in our school from 2007 until 2016, about 8 years. And during that period, it was a pretty heavy period in my life, very intense, but the joy part was education for life. And also I found inspiration somehow to start writing theater for them, because I thought, you know, that has everything in it. It has cooperation, it has expression, and also I also portrayed a lot of emotions, like strong emotions, can be anger, can be anything. And so, not because thinking if you can act an emotion, then you can control it. And so, and also just the, you know, anything that they needed to learn about history, geography, I just put it in the play and then they knew it, because they were very eager to memorize everything. And they just memorized, you know, sometimes their lines were quite long, and they still memorized it, and even in different languages, because I taught them French and I taught them English also. No, I didn't teach them French actually, but they were also learning French, and so there were parts where they had to act in French and in English and then in Italian again. And just that was a big trigger for my own creativity. And then after that, I started working for the Sangha, and that was very, very intense. It was difficult to get out of, to let go of the previous, you know, after 8 years of being only with children, basically. Was a big change. And then I started to write my own novel, and I found time to do that. It took me 4 years, and that is now being published in Italian.
Oh, wow. Amazing. What's the name of it?
It's a Latin name. It says Locus Eastem, and that means it's basically a choir song by a romantic Austrian composer, but it means this sacred place, God made it. They go through a lot, and hopefully at the end they realize they have to look within.
Wow, beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's quite a feat.
Yeah. But I think without the school boosting that type of literary creativity, it would not, that I don't know that if that would have happened.
So it inspired the rest of your life, teaching and being within that environment.
Yeah. So I was, for 8 years, I was, the school here, I live at Ananda Assisi, and which is a small community, and we are basically on top of a hill. So when I arrived here in 2007, the school efforts were for the families who were then here. There were not many, and then gradually we were even attracting families from outside. There's another small community nearby, and those they sent their children to our school. So I think at the highest, we were like, you know, 30 children or something. But then, so I started with elementary school, and together with another young lady, her name is Gori, and she did the preschool. And so we did that. We started that together, and then other teachers joined. And at a certain point, there were new parents coming to live near Ananda, but they had secondary school. So they had junior high school. And so I remember distinctly, I met one of the mothers who is also a friend, and I said, what a pity we don't have a high school. And she said, yeah, what a pity. And the next day we had a high school. So basically we met in a circle with a few of the parents. Some parents were very, very scared, but therefore also very, very courageous.
What were they scared about?
Well, mostly the one friend of mine particularly, and his daughter did our high school, and she's doing great now. She's a student of, I think, engineering in Rome. But he was particularly scared, and that was a common item, subject that issue that came back about the program. So basically in Italy, like I think compared, I don't know about Canada, but compared to the United States, the state program here is pretty strong. So it was a challenge for us to, we were a little private school, completely, it was like wildflowers, it was not like, it was not something that it was almost outside society. That was what it looked like, that's what it felt like, but at the same time, that was also the grace that was there at that time. So, and of course, it was not something that was destined to last. You have to, get accreditation, you need to get recognition, otherwise you can. But in those beginning years, there was both. So we were looking for accreditation, and we were connected with public high schools where our children every year went to do exams. But the whole thing about the public program, the curriculum, was always something that was a big issue in the relationship with the parents. We always had to work with that. And that's why for example, that's why I wrote plays, because I found it so boring what they had to learn. And also, finally, the way they studied, even though they were children, there was always some anxiety about it. And so I found it much more important to help them to overcome that anxiety and just know that studying is just fun. You do it because you want to know things, you want to understand things, you want to develop your skills. And so that's what I felt like. My first idea was make learning fun, basically.
Where do you feel their anxiety was stemming from? Having to perform, having to, be tested on it, or?
There was not every child, but there was but in every child, I felt that as soon as you gave them a book, it could be mathematics, could be grammar, it could be anything, something in their energy happened and it became a little bit more rigid. Like, oh, something is expected of me. Now I have to sit upright and I have to, and especially if they had already been at another school. Some children hadn't, for some children, this was the first school, but other children, I could just feel that there was something. Some children had it more strongly, had more anxiety. Others, I could just feel them even getting slightly rigid. And I didn't like that because that's not happy. So, yeah, what it stems from, what it came from, I think because the idea is that the school is then perceived by something that is imposed on you from the outside. And a little bit of that is good, I think, because we all need challenges and we all feel in life that things are imposed on us often. They happen to us and then we don't know what to do with it. And that's what causes anxiety or fear or whatever. So a little bit of that is fine, but also more important, I think, to develop a inner reference point for children that they can say, okay, let me just look and try it out and see and be creative about it and relaxed. We had these, not really, EFL of course doesn't have rules, but there are these rules like be a good friend, laugh often. And we added one to that rule. So we had them written, and then I added, or we added, the children and I, the only error you can make is not to try, because sometimes children would give up even before they had started, you know. So we added that rule, and so at least they started trying, also when it was difficult. And yeah, we grew together in that sense.